3 parts tired, 7 parts testy. Patriots coach Belichick started off the news conference saying, quote, "I believe 100% that I personally and we as an organization followed every rule to the letter." And then they went on to talk about atmospheric conditions, equilibrium. They lost me. A flat tire, I think, at some point, a man on the moon. I'm not sure. And then the lingo just got lurid. I tuned out. I got no answers. Did Jim Gray have an answer? Did he know what happened?
Let's find out. I mean, did you know that football's reached an equilibrium during a game? We just heard that. Because that was a master's degree tutorial on the atmospheric elements and physical properties that go into putting air into pigskin. And you know that 11 of those 12 Patriot footballs were somewhat deflated. So while it seems the Seahawk balls, well, they were fine. So after that short-tempered and seemingly frustrated tutorial by Mr. Belichick, let's check in with Jim Gray, who has covered 13 Super Bowls. We'll be covering this one. Jim, he said they didn't do anything. They don't know anything. No one did anything wrong knowingly. Do you buy that?
Well, it's my 38th Super Bowl to cover.
Oh, wow. Sorry about that.
But I do know that it is not Eric polishing fine china. We know that as well. Look, if this wasn't the Patriots, if this wasn't a team who's been so dominant, if they didn't have Spygate and the scandal that Bill Belichick just referred to several years ago, this wouldn't be going on. If this was the Titans and the Jaguars, nobody would care. This is the Patriots. You know, we're going to get to the bottom of it. It looks as though the Patriots on their end have concluded what has happened. Until we find a smoking gun, or until the NFL finds some ball boy or somebody who did something that nobody to this point they have found or has owned up to, I'm going to take Bill Belichick, what he just said, and I believe he's telling the truth. I said that a couple of days ago. I believe Tom Brady's telling the truth. They don't need to do some of the things that they're being accused of to win. Like Bill Belichick said, they're the best team in the AFC all year. They had the best record in the National Football League this year. So the things that they're being accused of, they're not doing because they're breaking and flaunting all of the rules. They're beating teams. The score was 45-7. LeGarrette Blount had 148 yards. He could have been running with a pillow. And they could have had guys with 7 machine guns and 4 tanks, and they couldn't stop him. So, I mean, really, I don't know. Maybe it's just a boring week in between the Super Bowl. And if they have cheated and if they have done something wrong, Mr. Wells and the NFL, who are now investigating this, will find out, and they will be punished, and they will be fined, and it will get worse if the Patriots, who say they are cooperating, aren't telling the truth. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But the facts as we know them now, all we know is there's some deflation. We don't know how it happened. Maybe what Bill Belichick just said is the reason that it happened.
You just mentioned Mr. Wells. That's Ted Wells, who's a very noted lawyer who's been brought into this to investigate. Walk us through, if you could, for a second, what happens to these footballs? They apparently are pressurized to 12.5 to 13.5 psi pressures, pressure per square inch. They're checked by an official. And then what happens before they're brought out into the field, and how potentially, what window is there for them to potentially be deflated if someone actually did that?
It also depends on the officiating crew, Eric. The balls then are checked and authenticated. They then put a mark on the balls. Each team provides 12 balls that they want to play with and 12 backup balls. So there's a total of 48 balls, 24 per team. They then check off the box. They authenticate it with a mark by the official or whoever in the officiating crew is given that assignment. Those balls then stay in the official's locker room until the approximate time of game time, which is 10 or 15 minutes before, which they are walked out onto the field, onto the respective sidelines. And here's where the NFL has this all wrong. Why do they ever leave the possession of a league employee or an official? Why are they turned back over to team officials and team employees? That's fatally flawed in the first place. This is an officiating issue, and it's a process that's really bad.
That's a great point. I mean, you think that the rules should change? The NFL, the league should keep these balls before they go out into the field?
Absolutely. I mean, why would you not? Who in God's name think that's a good idea? That you would then turn them back over to a team? I mean, and look, we've heard quarterbacks say that there is an advantage to having a flatter ball, a more deflated ball. Then you heard Aaron Rodgers say that he would like the ball beyond the pressure. He would like it at 14 to 14 and a half, and that he would like to throw a ball that is harder and more full because he has a bigger hand. So, I mean, we're getting into all kinds of stuff, that again, like Bill Belichick said, you know, it gets scientific, it gets into hand sizes, it gets into slippery, all kinds of stuff. Perhaps the NFL should just take all of these teams out of the middle of it, and the quarterbacks want the balls a certain way, and the fans want to see the quarterbacks handling the balls that, you know, there's a vested interest here. They want to see these guys be able to perform at their best. They don't like the wax and the sheen and everything that comes out on the balls. The big complaint in the Super Bowl almost every year is that the balls are slippery because they're not in the control of the teams. And everybody always talks about it's hard to get a feel for them. They haven't been used. Those rules have been changed. They can practice with the balls now this year, and then they'll go back into the NFL custody. But this is a whole issue that's a process problem. This is officiating. And if those balls were deflated and you have an official, Eric and Arthel, every down they're holding this ball and they don't notice that it's deflated, I mean, come on. It's a problem they have to address, and they need to get a hold of it.
Yeah, and finally, he said during the news conference, in no time was there any intent to compromise the integrity of the game. Do you think that game was compromised?
I do not, because the balls were secure in the second half. And you can say perhaps what led to the second half score being 28-0 in the Patriots' favor. Tom Brady was 9 for 9 with the balls that are legitimately and authenticated and that were changed at halftime and meet the standards. He did better with that ball. So, no, the game wasn't compromised at all. It's farcical to think that it was. Even the Colts players, a number of them, all of them that have spoken on this issue, not one single player has come out and said, that's the reason we lost, because the pressure of the football was some 10 or 15% less than it should have been for the Patriots. Come on, it's ridiculous. This outcome of this game had absolutely nothing to do with the pressure of the ball. The only reason that this is even being discussed is because of the past problems that the Patriots have had, their substantial fine for Spygate.
All right, well, Jim Gray, we thank you for your insight. And although Bill Belichick said that he doesn't want to discuss this issue anymore, it will probably be looming over the Super Bowl before we get to kickoff. Bill, Jim,
perhaps, Eric, but yeah. I bet you that Coach Belichick will just now say from now on, we're on to Seattle, much like he did after the Kansas City game, on to Cincinnati. So he's off of it. I think he's done.
Well, no, the fans and some other folks won't be, so we'll see. Jim, thank you. Arthel?
Thanks, Eric.